how we're going ahead with cleaning up different processes. What I'd like to tell you or take you back is to, if you remember, a couple of years ago, we got involved, or about over a year plus, with E. coli and Ebola. A couple of years ago, when we gave the technology, the knowledge, we taught the scientists in South Carolina University to build a system and then use the material of the CO2 on E. coli, which was killing thousands of people, so according to the World Health Organization. When they took the system to the Capitol and they took it to be shown to, at that day of presentation in the presidential palace, happened to be someone from MIT, which we saw later on. MIT used the knowledge to confirm the correctness in so many different ways, but the name of MIT. Then the equipment from the scientists in South Carolina University was confiscated. And they were told they cannot carry on with the test because they showed the correctness of total eradication of Ebola. Then what they did, the scientists went back to the university, and with arrangement with the other scientists and support teams, they built a second unit and they tried it on E. coli. And they cultured it, and after 24 hours, there was no E. coli. So we had an idea that the systems can be used for virus and bacteria in different ways. Then I'll bring you back to further time. When we started the teaching 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, in Keshe Foundation, about the May of 2 years ago, we had a lady with us called Yukoka. Yukoka took the technology, what we saw, the sponge brushes that we just seen for air pollution in the car, and GANS materials, and she flew to Japan because that was her home. She was concerned about contamination from Fukushima. We published papers. She spent 3 days. Most of us stayed live while she was testing. We guided her. These are the pictures I asked that is available. You can see it. This is live from Fukushima. A lot of you saw this, and this is her beautiful face, what she did. A lot of people may complain about it, but what happened in the background? This video raised a lot of questions for the Japanese government. How come this lady has come, and how effectively she shows it? Then they knew there is a solution. And then we saw a process which a lot of you are aware of, and a new dimension has come out of this. A lot of you, a few months ago, saw a man, you heard a man, who was, after Yukoko did this Fukushima experiment, brought to the attention of the Tepco that there could be a solution. So Tepco, as I am an Iranian nuclear physicist, could not approach us, set up a decoy. And that decoy is on the table now. He was going to explain to you himself what has happened, and a lot of you, by the end of this session, will ask for one thing, which is what happened through my head when I saw it. I asked for the resignation of the Japanese Prime Minister because he's betrayed his nation. We go through it and let's see if you are correct, because a lot of you who live in America, a lot of you who live in Central Europe, a lot of you who have the possibility of being contaminated by the radioactive material, a lot of you who go to the hospitals and you are given radioactive material injection or radiation injection for different medical purposes, you do not know what's going to happen to you with the radiation in your body, how much of it comes out and what it does. We have a solution. Listen to it. Can I ask Rick if you can promote the Blue Cross, please, that he can present his... You see him online?
Yep, I've promoted him.
Okay. If you can stop the pictures from your COCO, please, and allow him to share his screen. Mr. Khan, welcome to the Keshe Foundation. It's the second time we see you in the past month. You showed us the use of the machine for measuring maglev system in Japan. Mr. Khan Sonel is the Keshe Foundation Japan. He is head and partner in the Keshe Foundation Japan. And he's one of the most trusted people Japanese could ever trust, even though he's Turkish by origin. He lives in Japan. He's a fluent Japanese speaking, and his company was set up to be the intermediary between Tepco and Keshe Foundation. And I leave it to him to explain how he came to us and how the process started. Are you, Mr. Kansol? Hello? Hello, can you unmute yourself?
He's unmuted. He should be able to speak. Can you speak?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Yes.
And you can share your screen. Share your screen without your programs to be seen. Open up what you're going to show us first, and then share a screen, please, on the Zoom. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the...
We need you to speak a bit louder.
Yes, sure.
Okay, I can hear you clearly. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Khan. It's a pleasure to have you.
You can't see my screen, right? Can you see?
I cannot see. You got to go on the share screen, the green one. Press. And then you should be coming up.
And then you have to choose the program that you opened or the pictures that you opened or whatever you opened, and then click on share screen at the bottom.
Yep.
While he's trying to do, I'll tell you what Tepco has done for this man who served Japan so much. They have sacked him, they put him on the street, and they have made sure he cannot have a job in Japan. They are making sure that this man has not the bread to eat and feed his children, and the Keshe Foundation is there to support. He is part of the Keshe Foundation Japan, and you will be amazed what is going to be described, what we're going to be to describe now. Go ahead, please, Mr. Khan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Please, if you're Japanese, make a record of this and put it on the internet in Japan. Section cut this and promote it across the world, because it's going to touch all of you. When we said today we're going to release information, this part, this is what we are talking about. Learn what it is, the data which is going to be submitted, and the information is going to be submitted, and then we'll see where we go. And then we'll discuss afterwards. You can ask directly questions from Mr. Khan, and then he'll go with it. Please start. I'll go silent.
Okay, thank you, sir. My name is Can, and I'm a Turkish by origin, but I've grown up in Japan. And I have a degree in chemical engineering and a master's.
Hello, Mr. Khan.
Yes,
You're
sir.
very, very faint. You have to speak louder and start from the beginning, please. You're very faint.
Or maybe get closer to the microphone.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds good when you're close to the microphone, or you have a headphone. Have you got a headphone?
Not a headphone, but I think I'm pretty close. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, if you have a headphone, you have an arrow next to your microphone. Click it and choose your headphone, and then it sounds that you're coming through the microphone of the computer. Next to your microphone on the Zoom, there is an arrow, upward arrow. Click on it and choose the microphone which you have attached to your system, and then you speak through it.
You need to stop share first. If you do have a do you have a headset or not?
No, I don't have.
Okay.
Okay, carry on then.
Carry
Just
on.
stay close, please.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, very good. Please stay very close.
Okay, sir. As I said, my name is Can Sunal, and I'm a Turkish by origin, but I've grown up in Japan. I have a degree in chemical engineer and a master's degree in business administration. And I had been working for a major Japanese trading company, and one of my duties was supplying for Tepco and regarding this cleanup.
Your job was, can you repeat what was your job?
My job, one of my job was supplying stuff. Stuff means like all kinds of goods to be used by Tepco. My company was the pure partner for Tepco for supplying, let's say, the cables, pipes, and all sorts of stuff. So in Japan, there's a tradition that the companies, they don't buy directly, especially the government companies, they don't buy from suppliers. They don't simply want to deal with it. And there are trading companies in between who supplies them. So when it comes to Tepco, and we were one of the major suppliers for Tepco, with the cables, with the pipes, let's say, all sorts of stuff, including ion exchange resin. So, and I was the responsible person who is dealing between suppliers and the Tepco. And one of the material we were used to supply was the ion exchange resin, which is used to filter the water in Fukushima. And we used to use a company's product. I'm not gonna give the names, the details, because I already have a lot of problem in Japan because doing this. And as Mr. Kesh said, I already laid off from my job, and it seems impossible for me to find a new job in Japan because of my name at the moment. So, and yes, so I'm not gonna give into too much in detail unless you ask. So, and I used to supply from a company in US. It's a known company in the nuclear ion exchange resin and other resins, and it is pricey, and it had a problem with the calcium, and the water in Fukushima is pretty much calcinated, and it makes it impossible for the regular ion exchange resin to be used. So I was in the search for a different material to supply Tepco, which they asked. And after my search on the internet, I come across with Mr. Kesh's GANS, CO2, and other types of GANS, like copper GANS and carbon dioxide GANS. So, and I wanted to give a chance, give a try, if that really works. So that's how I approached Mr. Kesh more than almost 2 years ago, in between 2013. And so at that time, he was in Italy, in a different part of Italy, and he was kind to accept me, and we talked, and after that he sent me some samples, and those samples was given to Tepco in order to test it. So, and the problem was the Tepco wanted to keep themselves out of this loop, not to look like they're using, because they are using Mr. Kesh's technology. And at the meeting, after the test, at the meeting, I remember that the person who is responsible for this cleanup, we don't actually want to use Mr. Kesh's, we don't like to use Mr. Kesh's technology, but we have to use it. So this was their mindset, this was their approach. So they don't really want to deal with it, but they have to deal with it because they have no other choice, it looks like. Okay, so the samples were given to Tepco, and Tepco did various tests on them, and they asked more sample, and Mr. K sent more sample, and I gave more sample, and also at that time it was the issue with the strontium and tritium mainly. So and tritium, with the tritium, Mr. Cash also sent them another kind of a device or a setup in order to be used with the CO2 GANS. And this was also supplied, and this was also tested. And then everything went well, and there is actually like various groups. In one group, which they call it cleaning up the water in the tanks, and then so they can pump into back to sea. So simply there is no way to store them on the side or nearby, because every day, almost like depending on the day, almost like 200 or 300 tons of water, highly contaminated water, is pumped in and pumped out from the reactors and cannot be pumped into sea and cannot be stored easily. It's a lot of water every day. So, and I think the tests all went well as I was informed, but there were such a strict procedures, including a big NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Most of them, probably who's in the business, know what is NDA. And we cannot really, at that time, still, we cannot really expose that we are giving the suppliers, because it's a strict rule that we cannot tell to our supplier that we are supplying to Fukushima. It concerns Mr. K, it concerns the other companies. So it's a government procedure, it's a government security, it's a government-related job. So as a trading company, we are buying, but we are not telling the buyer that we are supplying to Tepco, we are giving to Tepco. If Tepco has a problem with the part or with the material, Tepco giving the claim to us, and we give claim to the supplier without telling who is using it. So this is what the trading company does actually in Japan. So, and yes, under strict NDA conditions, we were told that the test all went well, and there was two gentlemen who were supposed to visit Mr. Cash in Italy, and it was all scheduled. And then at the last moment, something happened. So we got a big problem. Somehow we were told that I myself told Mr. Cash that I'm supplying the stuff to Tepco. So it wasn't supposed to be told to Mr. Cash officially. So, and then this was the problem.
You got to realize, let me give you a piece of information. You got to realize when you have a man who comes from Japan and we send directly shipment into Tokyo, and we are directly speaking about nuclear contamination, it can't be any about Tepco. So it was, as we are so intelligent, we understand the nuclear technology, it was obvious that Mr. Khan was a supplier into Tepco. You don't need to put two, it doesn't take much of an intelligence to put two and two together. And this is what Tepco could not understand. They assumed that everybody is stupid. And that's where the problem came. It wasn't that it was disclosed to us, but it was that we knew, because it was obvious. There's only one nuclear accident, one people who have a radiation problem, and how come we are literally sending, if you remember, Mr. Khan, we were sending the CO2 as talcum powder solution in one of the DHL. The Americans allowed it to be shipped out, if you remember.
Yes, exactly.
Because the Americans were controlling in what we were sending out. A lot of it went through Los Angeles out to Tokyo, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir.
And in a couple of instances, especially when we came to Stratenum, we shipped directly into Japan for Tepco. We have all the DHL papers. We have all the Federal Express papers, what we have shipped, where we have shipped. So carry on, please.
Yes, yeah, there was various issues with shipment, but somehow it worked. And the samples arrived to Japan and was delivered to Tepco. And yes, at the last moment, something from the upper level, from the Tepco, my company had a big claim that we were on the breach of NDA, which means we broke the NDA regulation, the rules, and we have a big problem, all sorts of stuff. And then they canceled their trip to Mr. Cash. And then in 3 weeks, we had a meeting. My boss, also my boss's boss, means the owner of a company, and this person has almost like 7,000 workers in Japan. And he has 60 companies extra. He's such a high-level person. He had a meeting with Tepco, and the outcome of the meeting that, yes, my company, which he owns, means one of the 60 companies he owns, we broke the rules. And it was obvious that we did. And somebody has to pay for it. So, and then I was the black sheep at that time who has to pay for it, and I had to resign. And then after 2 months, my boss had to resign as well. He was 64 at that time. He was close to retirement. He didn't mind resigning that much also, but it wasn't a good thing anyway. His life is okay, although my life got crippled like this at my young age. So the problem is, after everything happened and I sat down and thought about it, what has happened, it looks like I remember what the guy said, the director at that time. We don't want to deal with Mr. Cash, but we have to deal with Mr. Cash. So, and it looks like his technology is pretty much open, very much open, and you can even make a GANS in a simple method. So you don't really need Mr. Cash anymore. You don't really need his name. So, and as a Japanese, especially dealing with a person who is really critical of the United States, which the US government, which I'm going to show you now, is very much involved with the cleaning up of Fukushima. And so they don't want to deal with the Iranian person who's a critic of US and providing the biggest solution, most wanted solution to Fukushima, which nobody could at that point. So they wanted to cut him off. And they found some gap that we broke the NDA, and this was the reason. And then I got scrapped out from the company, and they're all clean, and I am the one who's in fault, although they kind of stole the information from us and used for themselves. So that was the situation. And then now these are all past and gone, and so they didn't promote Mr. Cash as the let's say the person who really helped the Fukushima cleanup. And right now the Fukushima cleanup is more or less, I'm gonna show you now, they can pump the water into the sea starting from 2015, and it looks like they have no issue with the water. So Mr. Cash actually is the person, and his technology is being used by Tepco at this point, but he's not credited for this due to, I think, like high-level political issues. So let me, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we see the cleanup of Fukushima and Cash.
This is the beginning, the cover of the presentation. I made a simple one, and So yeah, this was this April 2012, and a big wave hit to the reactor there, and the reactor exploded. And this is a pretty much known picture that everybody knows. So, and this was the situation in 2011. Okay, they had 4 reactors there. It is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the fourth reactor, it didn't contain any reactor itself, but it was stored the excess fuel from the reactor number 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and this is the C side, and this is how the waves hit from C to the reactors. And at that time, after this big wave, this is what the situation is. So in reactor 1, it says the uranium is partly melted. So, and this is the reactor. And those are the water storage tanks. Those tanks are used to get the water from the sea, supplied to the reactor. They clean up the water. They cool down the reactor, and they have this is a facility which cleans up the water itself. The little bit contaminated water under conventional means, which is not highly contaminated, and pump it to the sea. It's a pretty much common thing to do in the nuclear reactors. They cool down the nuclear reactors with the seawater and pump it back. And this is the second reactor. There's a spent fuel inside, but this was not the main issue. And the main issue was the third reactor. And it was fully, not partly like number 1, it was fully destroyed, and there was a meltdown, and all of around this area, especially here, number 3 and number 4 was not accessible to human by any means in order to go inside and figure out what had happened. Okay, this is the situation. And this is the situation right now, number 2015, and this is the reactor number 1, reactor number 2, number 3, and this is the reactor number 4, where they used to store the excess radioactive material. So, and this is where they get into. From here, there are pipelines going under this building, and from this building, this is connected to the reactor and cooling down the water, and the water comes back into this building, and there are various filters, and then it's filtered through the radioactive contamination and pumped back. This used to be like that. Right now, it was in a really bad condition, and as you can see, and this is published from the Asahi newspaper in Japan, normally you cannot get a shot like this detailed from the side because it's so prohibited. So it looks like it's pretty much, again, recovered, and you can see all the cars are parked and people are walking, which is actually impossible under conventional thought. You can see you can think about the Chernobyl in Russia, and it was still not possible even to come nearby to that nuclear site after the explosion. And here it was highly contaminated 4 years ago. As you can see, those are the sites, debris fuel. It means like the fuel is all like all around the site, not inside the reactor only. And now you can see, and also you can find various pictures on the internet. People are walking, and there is a kind of a joke, and some people even wanted to make some kind of a guided tour for tourists. They call it black tourism, in order for the regular people to visit the Fukushima site. So it is that much safe at the moment. But what kind of a technology do they have, and they can clean up that nuclear site which was heavily polluted in less than 4 years. And until 2013, they couldn't do anything. And 2013, nothing could be done. Even robots, they went into the nuclear site, got fried up with the radiation. Even the robot couldn't work, not even the human. And then after 2005, after 2005, 2006, 2014, something has happened. Something has happened, and
You mean 2013, 14?
2014, actually, the person who I was dealing with, the head of the director, died from the cancer. And then things has changed, and 2014, yes, I start supplying your material. So,
Can you repeat that, please?
okay, 2013, the director of Fukushima cleanup has died from cancer.
Of too much radiation.
Yes, but they don't say that. They say he was a heavy smoker, and that's why he died out of cancer. This is what the official explanation is. So you can find information all over the web regarding him. So yes, he died. And after he died, he was a very secular guy. He belonged to a tradition where the old Japanese belonged to, and he didn't really try anything out of the Japan. So they were trying to do it within the Japan, within the Japanese technology, not too much getting out of help from the outside. So they wanted to keep it very secret, what they're doing. The situation was really bad. The situation is really bad. Tokyo is almost like 250 kilometers far, and especially the reactor 4 is full of nuclear rods, and it can explode. And so if that exploded, luckily it didn't happen, not even Tokyo, the north of the Japan, including Tokyo, all the way to Osaka would be contaminated, and nobody could even like get in. Such a big situation, and even that was not told to the public. And people in Tokyo, 250 kilometers away, were living a regular life without knowing the reactor number 4 can explode anytime, and they can even die right away. So it was such a bad condition, but the government, including the guy who passed out, was keeping it very secret. And they didn't want to deal with anybody and anything out of this island, and everything is kept secret. After that guy passed out, things has changed. A new person came, and it was obvious that none of the solutions a Japanese company or Japanese institution can provide works. So at that time, they tried different alternatives, including Mr. Cash's technology. So in 2015, you can see people are walking, the cars are inside the nuclear reactor, and this is the situation. And how this happened, and this is the thing, how this happened in like less than 2 years. So this is.
Was this the process when they were given the CO2, the production of the GANS?
Yeah, the production of the GANS can be done pretty much on their own.
What they were shown is effective.
Yes. And as far as I know, and I'm the major company who's supplying the
Original samples.
Tepco. What? Say again, please.
The original samples of the from us.
Yeah, the originals. The thing is, I think how it worked. They got the samples, they tried it out, they saw that it works, and then they cut us off. So because it was a big thing, and
because we are teaching it on the internet, so they knew what to do.
Yes.
It's a matter of getting it to work.
Yes, so they just wanted to have the real product, not because in order to you want to try a new technology, right? And you want to get the sample from the inventor himself. So you want a real sample. You can make it at home.
Do you have a picture of you in Fukushima?
Yeah, I send it to you, I guess.
Can you send it? Can you put it on?
I don't have that on this computer.
You don't have that computer. I don't have access to my computer. We'll release the pictures of Mr. Sun at Fukushima, at the gates of Fukushima, when he was delivering the material to the site. And there are videos of us live testing things with the Fukushima officials just a week before they fly into Italy, before they were stopped to do so. Carry on, please.
Yes. Yeah. And so what I believe what has happened, they got the samples, they tried out, and they had a problem with the tritium. They couldn't figure that out, how that works, and Mr. Cash provided some kind of simple solution to that to be used with the GANS. And then they tried that too, and that worked as well. And then from the people who did the test was okay. They had no problem with dealing with Mr. Cash on their side, and but the thing is, the upper management probably who stopped this, and this is what has happened. And they cut Mr. Cash off and stopped coming to Italy, and they cut my company, and then they gave another reason that we did the NDA breach, and then they cut me off, and my boss went off too. So the thing is, they are producing the GANS itself, I think, and they're using it widely in order to clean up Fukushima. But
so the GANS liquid is used for decontamination across Fukushima?
Yes. So the GANS is used in Fukushima, and I'm gonna right now show you how it is being used. Okay, so and I made a small chart that what's going on. In the Fukushima nuclear site, from the contaminated water, you can find the major contaminants is like iodine, helium, cesium, strontium, and plutonium as well. And iodine is pretty much easy. The technology has been there almost like 60 years, cleanup of iodine from the contaminated water. But tellurium is pretty much difficult. Cesium is difficult. Strontium-90 is almost impossible. It's highly difficult. This is what actually the Tepco was really got stagnant with. And the level of tritium, which I didn't write it here, because the tritium, that it doesn't have a half-life that long. It can be stored, and after, let's say, 12 years, all the radiation is almost gone, and you can pump into the sea. But the problem is, how can you store let's say, the minimum 200 pounds of highly contaminated water on the site for 12 years? It makes no sense. It makes a huge amount of setup, which is impossible. There's no place to set up to store that much of water. So, okay, so since 2011, that site is producing 200 to 300 tons of highly contaminated water from the reactors, mostly number 3 and number 1. And then 2015, Tepco started releasing 850 tons of low radioactive water into the ocean daily. So, and under conventional technology, normally you can filter a few hundred liters of highly contaminated water, not even tons. This is pretty much expensive and hard. So, and then the question is, it says, does Tepco unlawfully, without telling the international community, releasing the highly contaminated water into the ocean? which is not impossible because if you release a highly contaminated water in Pacific from Japan, you can measure it in US, or you can on the other side of the ocean, or you can measure it pretty much easily that highly contaminated water is being dumped. So they cannot do that. So they have some kind of efficient technology in Tepco, which is not being released. If it is being released, it would be on the internet, and some scientists would publish papers, at least, or getting the claim on
We
them.
have already published the papers. They know what it is.
Yes.
This is the strange thing about it. You already released the knowledge.
Yes. So, and they have something that they are using, but it is not clear that they don't admit that they are using. So,
but there wasn't there before we send them the solution for a stratinum, because immediately within a month they announced they have cleaned up all the stratinum.
yes. Yes, strontium was a big issue, and they had no solution for strontium. So, and after you send them the samples, all of a sudden they have a magic solution for the strontium, and then they start releasing water into the ocean. So this is a strange thing. Okay, anyway, this is how the ion exchange resin works here, and the ion exchange resin means it's kind of a filter. It is a 2 or 3 it's a 2 or 3 steps of filtering, and which is some sorts of filter material are being used. It is similar to what most of the people are using at their home. It is like consists of some, let's say, clay or other ion exchange resin, all in like in the layers. They filter the water, and the highly contaminated radioactive particles are trapped into the ion exchange resin, and then the water is cleaned in that way. It's pretty much, the logic is simple, but the exchange resin, the filter they use itself, which can absorb the radioactive material on themselves, is a pretty much difficult technology. So, yes. Okay, so this is what it comes in. And there's a company called Curion. And Curion is an American company. And Curion was such a small company. It's a startup company located in, I visited them a few times, and they had a location. They still have they have a location in Irvine, Los Angeles, and they had the actual testing center in Seattle, in America. So, and yes, I have the business cards of all the people I talked to. I can show you. And yes, this was such a small company. And all of a sudden, this small company became the key supplier, or the key, not even the, became the key company who was chosen by the Japanese government in order to clean up the Fukushima, the water, the highly contaminated water. And it's such a small company. Why this company is granted from the Japanese government, it is very unlikely. First of all, it is a US company, and it's a small company. It's a startup company, and they have no technology, nothing in their hand which they can promote themselves as the major cleaning company of Fukushima, which is almost seems really difficult. Besides,
let me explain to you.
Mitsubishi or Toshiba or other companies were not granted.
Let me explain something for those who don't know. Fukushima plant was sold by the American companies to Mitsubishi and Toshiba. That they have nothing to do with what you call Fukushima plant. And in exchange, part of the contract is that this company was set up as a backdoor to be able to cash what the money was from the Keshe Foundation technology. You've got to understand that according to the Second World War agreement, Japanese cannot do anything nuclear. They cannot even buy a gram of uranium without American government having a say in it. So the plant was owned officially by Westinghouse and the others, sold to get rid of, but still had to have a line of earning for the American government. So this company was set up, which means they have a stronghold on the Japanese nation totally in the nuclear industry. And without this company signing the certification of cleanup, IAEA will not allow the reactors to come into operation. In a way, this company is a backdoor to fraud, high-level fraud, international fraud, in a way that the Americans keep control of the Japan nuclear industry, energy industry, and in that process, they get paid for it. So now that the technology was delivered to Japan, and Westinghouse has handed over everything to, to the Japanese, which is a normal transaction, then this company had to be set up to be able to guarantee income into United States from the investment of technology and control. This is part of the same with German government, according to Second World War, cannot handle nuclear materials in case they use it in a different way. So what they do, they go outside, invest in their name in nuclear industry, but under the cover of the German government. We've seen this with the, we've seen this with a new medical reactor in Belgium in the nuclear area. So these kind of technologies are the back feeders of the new technologies to control the decontamination. But in fact, it's an income to guarantee the control that it cannot be out of the hand of what I call United Nations. Carry on, please.
Yes. Yeah, this is the all the photos I'm showing you right now is you can pretty much find them over the internet. So nothing is secret. And this is the Curion's mobile processing unit, which they have all the ion exchange resin inside. Water is pumped in and pumped out, and the water is clean. And this is unlikely for a very small company. This kind of technology is very, very unlikely to have, and under normal condition, you can maybe clean up a few hundred liters of water with a system as big as, I'm going to show you here, as big as this building. It fits into this building. You cannot clean
That
up.
little thing is cleaning up everything in Fukushima in a way.
Yes, and this thing is a small container and clean up everything in Fukushima. Where this technology came from all of a sudden. Okay, and this is another picture, and here
Who took these pictures?
Those pictures are taken by Curion.
Ah, okay.
So, pictures I got it is as much as I was allowed.
Let me ask, please, webmasters and recorders, please record everything that if there is any attack on us to bring the website and teachings down, it can go on the internet in different ways.
Okay, so this is the system when it is working. So this is working. Okay, And those are the ion exchanges and materials they use. And for various, this is all like set up in the piping system. Those pipes are filled up with these materials, and the water runs through the pipes and they get cleaned. And as you can see, this white material is very, very familiar to you, I guess.
This
So,
is CO2.
yes.
This is the GANS of CO2.
This is the last step, actually the actual step which cleans up the water. So all the other, this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is being used for the purification of water itself. Just the water and yes. And then because in the water there's also not only radioactive materials, and they have the other contaminants like the heavy metals, let's say arsenic, or the other isotopes, which cannot be actually used by, cleaned up by the CO2 GANS. They had to have some conventional filtering materials, like as you can see here, the 5 of them are well known ion exchange resin, because I'm in this business, I know what is what. So, and those ion exchange resins are not for radioactivity. They are for heavy metals. Those are for chlorine isotopes. Those are for, one of them is for chlorine, radioactive chlorine isotopes. One of them is for radioactive arsenic isotope. And this doesn't belong to here. So, so this is what is actually being used in this in order to clean up the radioactivity. So yeah, hold on a second, yeah. So yes, this is pretty much what's going on with the Fukushima. But although Mr. Kesh didn't get any credit on himself officially, but the cleanup is there and it's working pretty well. So, and I'm living in Japan. I have 2 kids, and 2 small kids I have. And I'm happy on my side that I can safely live in this country. I can continue to live in this country. But on the other side, I kind of feel sad that Mr. Kesh didn't get any like official credit.
That's not important. The credit is all of us. We are safer. There is a matter of medical application. Can you go into that, please?
So, yeah. Okay. One of the material when I supplied the CO2 GANS and the copper GANS to Tepco, normally I said this is something that this is CO2, and they said, what is CO2? CO2 is gas, or CO2 is dry ice. What is CO2? We don't know such a CO2, and we cannot try this material that we don't know. You should give us the MSDS. MSDS means Materials Safety Sheet, which when, as a chemical trading company, when you supply a new material, you give the customer, first of all, it's a must-have, the material safety sheet, which gives all the physical properties, also the toxicity of the material. So in this case, Mr. Kesh case, we had no MSDS, because this is not a known material, and this has no CAS number. This has no MSDS, because it is not a conventional known material, it's a new material. And so at that time, I couldn't provide MSDS. And the situation was, the Tepco's reaction was, if it's a joke, if you cannot give us the MSDS, we cannot use it. It is highly unlikely that we can accept such an unknown material. And then, but things that happened, and the directors have changed and all, and then they said, okay, we give a try. But before giving a try, we need to at least make a test with the toxicity. We don't know our workers. If this works, our workers are going to handle this material, and it looks like it's a powder in the water. It is a suspension, and they'll be dealing with it. So we'd like to do the toxicity test before we start doing any further test. Is it okay with you? I say, yeah, sure, it's okay. And they did some tests for the toxicity of it, okay, before start using it. And then the test was done, and I was shown the result of the test. Although I wasn't supposed to publish it, and they didn't publish it. I think at that time it was a mess. Nobody thinks or cares about publishing any paper on what's going on in Fukushima. They just want to survive. So, and they want to keep it pretty short, the testing of this material, because they are testing not only the cache material, they are testing more than 100 of ion exchange resin. Most of them are supplied in order to be used in Fukushima. So, and this material was tested pretty much fast, and this is how they did the testing. Okay, so there was 3 groups of rotten mice, and this is pretty much known for the people who's into laboratory testing, this kind of setup. So every group had 6 mice, and there were 6 groups. And the mice, except the group number 3, all the mice was giving 100 not micrograms per kilo every day, daily, and this was CO2 GANS, and CO2 GANS was the powder in the water was mixed with their daily diet, daily laboratory rotten diet, the mice food diet. Okay, so it means that per the rottens looks like they weigh between 150 grams to 200 grams. So per mice, 20 microgram of CO2 GANS was given daily in their food. So as you can see, there are 6 groups, and the first group was given only the tank water, radiation contaminated water only, this group. And the second group was fed. The radiation contaminated water means they place the water, the mice needs to drink water. The water was radiation contaminated water. Also, they put the food, the laboratory food for the mice they fed is in pellets. So, and they used to put the highly contaminated tank water on, they put onto the pellets and make it absorb, so they make sure that the mice consumes the highly contaminated water. Besides, there is a water cap, there is a water cup in the setup. So if the mice wants to drink water, he can go and drink from that water. But it looks like the mice didn't touch to the water, because I don't know, because if they felt it was highly radiation contaminated or not. Anyhow, so the water looked intact. But also they mixed the highly contaminated water with the food and fed the mice. Okay, the group was only radiation contaminated water, and the second group was those mice are fed.
The first group you say at the bottom, which given contaminated water, all died within the first week.
Yes, I think they died, if I'm not mistaken. It had been more than a year. It had been almost 3 days. All the mice in 3 days, 2 or 3 days, most of the mice are died. There was only one left, and that one is survived for almost a week. And at the end of the last week, mice also died. So it's not actually all mice died. They all died much earlier, but the last one survived the week, so that's why I wrote the week. Just to be. And the second group was given contaminated water, was like sprinkled, put it onto the food, and also the CO2 gas was put onto the food as well. It was all mixed.
The water, liquid GANS CO2, yes?
Yes, liquid gas CO2.
Okay. And all the ones in that group survived.
All that group has survived. Okay, and actually the third group, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. This is 1, 2, and this is the third group. Third group, actually, this was supposed to be done actually, and the third group was only CO2 GANS, and it was giving 5 milligram per kilo, and they wanted to check this is the actual reason why they started. This was supposed to be the actual reason why they started doing this test. As they told me, the toxicity of the material. And this is the toxicity, and they gave 5 milligram, not 100 microgram, 5 milligram per kilo, and they tested on the 6 mice, and they try to figure out if there's any toxicity on the mice, if the mice is dying or something, or any other adverse effects. Nothing is observed, and yes, and then this is the 6th group, is the control group, which was giving nothing. It's a control group, so everybody knows.
So in fact, the CO2 GANS is not toxic material at all.
Not at all. Even the
This is these two major points. We come back to this later on. So what we understand, we can use GANS of CO2 in condition of the radiation contamination for waters. You can add CO2 into the water when you're in a nuclear disaster condition, and that water which you drink from the GANS can decontaminate your body from radiation. Or you can, a minute amount of GANS has been digested by the animals, shows radiation contamination, none, and you'll survive. These are important. This is what we call this teaching of today important for a lot of us. Secondly, there's been a lot of concern about the toxicity of the CO2, if it's dangerous. Now we have it from Tepco. It's not toxic at all. He'll explain to you later on how the test was done. Okay, go to group 4, please.
Okay, after that, there was another group. So, and this group consists of the mice, which was on purposely was given virus, influenza virus, and the fourth group was the influenza group, and this group was given CO2 GANS. This has nothing to do with radioactivity, and it was just, for some reason, it was just given the infected mice and CO2. And group 5 was the infected mice plus just the infected mice, nothing. So
with influenza.
With influenza, yes.
Okay.
So group 5 is survived. Group 5 is survived, but there was no improvement with the infection. So, and the group 4 also survived, but the infection has disappeared. So it looks like the CO2 GANS is somehow working on with the virus.
Yes, because influenza is a virus, and that's what we said. This technology is best for a space. In a space, we don't have microbes, we have viruses, which are energy locked to proteins. And this is a clear indication, no influenza. No influenza at all. In the next few minutes, we bring back Benjamin from Ghana. I have received a text, a shocking news coming from Ghana, which repeats the process in Sierra Leone, South Africa. Sorry, in Sierra Leone South University. So what we see now is that you can use influenza. Thousands, tens of thousands of people every year die because of influenza. Different shape. And this is a clear indication. No infection, no disease, no sign of influenza. Carry on, please.
Okay. After the test, I was called to Tepco again, and the Tepco, we got the meeting that the toxicity tests are okay. There's no toxicity happened, and they will start testing it. They ask for more material, and then I asked more material from Mr. K. Anyway, the thing is, when I see these results, and they said this is pretty much a common test which is done, because they said this material, whatever you call CO2 GANS or this white powder in the water, at that time they didn't know it, is absorbing. It is an ion exchange resin, and the virus, the protein cover of the virus consists of plus, like the cations, and what they try to filter out is mostly the anions. No, cations. So anions are different ion exchanges, and they can be pretty much easy. So they say if this works for virus, this works for the because the virus is absorbing onto these GANs. As far as they know, and they observe, this virus is being absorbed onto GANs by the means of electrostatic force, which means that the GANs is acting like a negative.
It's a magnet.
Yes, and then the virus is the virus's protein cover is plus, so it's absorbing itself and inactivating the virus. This is what they thought, is what the working mechanism is. So they say this is pretty much the same working mechanism for cleaning up, for absorbing the contaminated water, for absorbing the isotopes from the contaminated water.
Let me add to the knowledge a little bit here. You got to realize why they changed, why they tested influenza. Most of the workers in Tepco work in the sea level, cold winter, and they all get sick with influenza. That's why was to see if the CO2, if the workers in the radiation centers come in touch with CO2, would it affect, would it have a toxicity? And if they had influenza, would it make them worse? Because they are working in the huge minus temperatures in Japan in the winter time. So this is why they tested it. It was to make sure that if CO2 comes with a touch with a man who's got influenza, what would it do? What would it have? Would it have a side effect? And they found even a solution for the influenza. This is why this was tested this way. I request one thing, and that is, if you are very clever and you understood what's on this table, you will understand what is to come after this. I let Mr. Khan finish, and then I'll give you a full explanation in how this will change the total lifestyle of us on this planet. And that's why I said today it'll be a revolution. Today is a green or blueprint for a lot of things. Carry on, Mr. Khan.
Okay, sir.
Can you tell us what did they do? They dissected the animals. What was the procedure? What did they do after
the animals? After they sacrificed the animals, and what was checked, the liver. So the liver was checked due to toxicity, and there was no toxicity. It was observed on the group C.
You're cutting off. You're not very clear.
Okay, sir. Yes, the group, after the test, they cut the mice. They sacrificed the mice, and they got the liver. And I think this is it was shown on the presentation, which was shown to me. They took out the liver of the mice, and the group number 3rd, and the other groups, but especially number 3rd, they were concerned with toxicity because they were given 5 milligram per kg. They got the mice, the liver, and they chopped it off. They squeezed it, and then they did further chemical tests in order to observe if there was any toxicity in the liver. And it was shown that the CO2 was not in the liver. So it means it wasn't in the liver, it's not toxic. It wasn't, if it wasn't stored in the liver of the mice, it wasn't toxic, because most of the poisonous contaminants are stored in the liver. So there was no sign of the CO2 in the liver, so they concluded that this is not poisonous. And then they tried to figure out the way how this is discarded from the body. So within all the groups, the urine of the mice was collected daily. So this is how they collect the cage which was the mice is kept. It is like a, I mean, in some kind of mesh. The mice is living on the mesh, and when they give urine or the feces, the droppings or the urine goes under, and they collect the urine and the feces. So and they check the urine of the group, and the CO2 was found in the urine, also in the feces, which is the dropping of mice. It was found in the mice. So all the CO2 was the mice ate was discarded through the urine. So and the problem is the urine in the group number 1 was highly contaminated, and the group number 2 was also contaminated. So, and that is the part they couldn't give an explanation. Okay, so the number 1 is contaminated. Number 2 is also contaminated, but this contamination seems not to have any effect on the mice itself, so, and the mice has survived. So this was the part they got puzzled, but they didn't put too much effort on it. They didn't care at that time, and I didn't care at that time too, and this is the way they do the test, and they said, okay, I was happy that they want to try this new material, all sorts of stuff is cleared out, and then they decided going further. So I didn't really question at that time how they test, why they test, and they didn't question too themselves. So this was the result, and it wasn't toxic. Then they start testing it. So this is what has happened after all things are done, and right now they're using this material. And so I'm trying to figure out ways. This is the explanation. I'm trying to figure out ways to make a use of this. So, and what I did, I made a supplement, and as well as an eye drop. This is the eye drop, and this is the supplement, which I made in Japan, and this is produced in Japan. So, and this is the GANS is in this shape because I further here, I'm a chemical engineer, and I further modified the GANS, which can be absorbed from the intestine much easier. So I made a GANS, I add something on it, and I made it oil soluble. And I made a GANS, usually it's a suspension, but I made the eye drop even out of GANS. And I have been distributing this to people here that I know who is willing to try. And especially in the case of eye drop, the glaucoma, the open angle glaucoma, and in some cases, cataract is dissolved. So it is being used, and the people who are using it are really would like to see this as a commercial product, and they would like to buy it. So
let me explain why you're there. This is scientifically based as a chemist you produced, and this is a natural product, so it's not processed product. GANS is a natural product, is a new version of free atom. I tell you something as a hand. We promote you, we sell, and we take all the risk and responsibility regarding distribution of this material across the world. I'm proud to see the logo of the Keshe Foundation. I give you the right, the copyright to the name, and the signature right to the Keshe signature you carry. GANS Foundation is a copyright owner of the name GANS. And anybody uses the technology, anybody uses the name, you have to have a copyright rights from us. Anybody uses the logo of the Keshe Foundation, the way you see your SSI, from today you need our written agreement, written consent. We are the owners of the technology. Just 1 second. We are the copyright owners, and we have the registration right owners of the name. And I'm proud to see you carrying this name on. From today, the Keshe Foundation will put this material for sale from Japan, Tokyo. And the condition is you are responsible for your own. We have registered the GANS name as a copyright name of the Keshe Foundation, and yesterday we have received the rights to it. The logo of the Keshe Foundation, KF with circles, have been granted to us with registration. We possess it, we own it. We will enforce our name from this week. We have registered 21 names across the world, and we give with pleasure to you the right to use this name, and I stand personally for its use.
Yes. So
if you want to submit it for certification, any of you, any part of the world, we deliver you and give it to be certified in your own country. In the time of disaster, like in Fukushima, people who are in disaster condition, they have to have the right to save their lives. They have to have the right to be able to save their lives. They don't need a license. If you come across disaster in US due to earthquakes or whatever else, you don't wait for a government to tell you you can use a GANS or you cannot do. We will provide technology that you can shower yourself through and with it. We took our time, and this is what I said today. This is a pleasure to see. I tell you the reason why. Governments like Chinese government, especially in the poor countries in different parts of the world, where animals are slaughtered through different kind of flu for chickens or whatever, or dogs. We hear it now and then. This water can do the job without damaging the agriculture, without damaging the farmer. You can just add it to the water. This stops use of antibiotics and the other things in the animals without getting absorbed or damaging their toxicity. It is a huge change. This is correcting some of the past problems, and this is one of them. We are very simple. We ask Tepco to release data. If you're Japanese, ask how the government of Japan has kept this technology away from its people, where the farmers are getting cancer and they wash and clean up the power station. You were wondering how the IAEA is allowing Tepco to start operating, and different nuclear power stations are coming to operation because they have the GANS technology in their hand. It's a dietary element, and it is natural material. No one has a right to it, no one can copyright it because we have taken the rights. GANS is a registered name. We own the registration. MAGRAF is a registered name. We own the registration. From now on, if you use any of these names, be sure you have received permission from the Keshe Foundation. It's illegal from today to use this name if you don't have the permission from us. So if you think you can make eyelashes and whatever, as you see here, that you can do and sell, if it's not supported with the R with the Keshe Foundation, or the GANS or whatever, we have the right to interfere.
Mr. Fish, we also we own the names Keshe Foundation, GAN.com, Keshe Foundation GANS.net, and we also own KF GANS and KFGANS.net and .com.
I own the Keshe Foundation GANS.
No, I'm talking about the website.
Yeah,
you can
the
use.
GANS, yes, GANS.org belongs to the Keshe Foundation. I bought it.
And I bought the other ones. I'm saying that he can use them.
Yes, yes, we know. GANS.org is, and we allow you to use this, Mr. Khan. Whatever the Japanese nation has let you down, we don't.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. If we will put this as a sale material with the conditions that you have to take the permission to enter it into your country, and we rely on Tepco to provide the scientific material because they are using it for 2 years. The trial has been done on the workers of Tepco.
Hopefully one day they're gonna release all the data and all the pictures.
Pardon?
I hope one day they're gonna release all the data, what they have been doing there inside, and yeah, so we can get credibility.
It's not the credibility. We already are credible. It's just how they try to discredit us, which is the problem for themselves. What I suggest to you, Mr. Khan, Japan.keshefoundation.org
Yes.
is your right to fill it in, as we spoke before. You are working in respect to the measurement tools. You have set up the Keshe Foundation company in Japan, and you're a shareholder in it. Set it up, we finance you. Produce this material for the Japanese in a way that they can use it to decontaminate their own lives. If it's good to be used inside Tepco, it's good inside to be used outside Tepco. This shows a conspiracy within the structure. Is irrelevant now that there is a solution. I think, as I said, if international press gets hold of what is been described in past an hour or so by you, the resignation of the Prime Minister of Japan is on the card. He has betrayed his nation, let them to suffer with radiation and the rest. But we leave it to international press. You try to get this section of the teaching onto the international press, and then we'll see the response. The technology being developed, tested, and belongs to humanity. Not to a few to catch money out of it for United States. Now you understand why they produce so much anti-information about the Keshe Foundation. Because it is what it is. It's simple, it's in the hand and reach of the people. And in so many ways, we need it because it's the knowledge of space. In the space, you come across infections and radiation. And you should be able to clean your body from it. And you see how simple it is. This information is over 2 years old, 3 years old now? Am I correct? Mr. So?
More 2 years.
2 years. And it's been kept away from Japanese public. How many people would have saved their children by knowing they could give a drop of water and clean up the body of the child from cancer? Very simple. It just washes you out of your body. It doesn't stay inside your body. Who is responsible for this criminal act? Or can we go even higher to IAEA? why IEA has hidden this, not to be able to show upper hand in the Iranian negotiations in nuclear. You do not understand the reasons for it, we know. It's a game played with our lives. It's the game played with all of our lives. It's a game they play to show they have the power to do what they like. When you shower your plants with CO2, any contamination which is produced by what you call chemtrails is washed off. When you feed your plant or your animal, any contamination, it is washed off. A lot of you have a concern in respect to chemtrails, the chemicals which you say they spray. Start taking CO2 in a correct right measure, in a correct manner, you'll find out it'll be washed out of your body. This is not a magic. This is understanding the total knowledge of gravitational magnetic field, understanding due to the spectrum of the carbon and oxygen in a plasma condition, they attract anything which is in the bandwidth of the total spectrum from carbon to oxygen plus combined. And this is the biggest discovery of the century, where simple man can help themselves. They said the biggest invention was a cartwheel, but in fact the new biggest invention, understanding the plasma as a GANS. It will change a lot. It will change the life of a lot of you. Next time, summer, winter, you have a flu, die in Europe because of the flu in the summertime, because they cannot receive and they're becoming immune to the older ones, and so they have a problem. The success rate of influenza injections at the moment in Western Europe is between 20 to 30%, and every year it reduces. With this, it'll never reduce. No old man, no young child should die of influenza anymore with the development of this technology. And somebody's typing, and all you need to ask is ask Tepco. The tests are available with Tepco.
Yes, sir. So, besides Tepco, it's done is done and gone is gone.
Yeah,
So,
but the thing is, now we have the data, we can help the others and ourselves.
yes.
This is the problem. What are we going to do? This has been a very big question mark. That people were saying that Tepco is radioactive materials into the sea. They're not dumping any radioactive material into the oceans. It happened. Now they use the GANS material to dump because they absorb the radiation. In fact, there is no difference between this and that one. Let me go through something. It's very important. Please stay online. I'm going to ask Mr. Khan, can you stop sharing the screen? I'm going to bring you back up. We have Benjamin from Ghana. Benjamin, can you come online, please?
Okay.
Just stay on standby because it's in line with what you've done. It's just literally in past 10-20 minutes, the results are coming in.
Okay, how can I stop this thing?
Stop, please sharing. Benjamin, can you come online and tell us what has come from the atomic energy?
Am I online?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you. Can you tell us what you just received on the Ghana Atomic Energy Authority, please?
I have even sent you pictures on
I've seen it. It's coming
Zoom.
on my computer. It's coming on my headset.
Okay. From the report from the lab, they have found significant number of E. coli quantity. Okay, let me say quantity of E. coli in the untreated polluted water. And then when they treated with the CO, the copper oxide, the number has reduced significantly.
Benjamin. They have found significant amount of E. coli in the water which you brought from which river?
From River Pra and River of Fing.
Okay. And what did you treat it with?
I treated it with copper oxide.
And what is the preliminary results from the lab?
The primary result from the lab shows that after treatment, the number dropped significantly. But according to him, it's so, what do you call it, early to give the analysis, because as at now they have a power cut at the lab. So
Mhm.
he just, as you can see, he sent me a lot of pictures, of their results, and he will, like I told you before, after the holidays, they will be able to bring the documented evidence of their results, so that it can be shared or can be published online. Yeah.
So as we saw with the South Carolinian University, using a copper oxide GANS in contaminated rivers has cleaned up the Ebola or E. coli.
Yeah.
So this is in line. We see this is a new health condition which is coming up. A lot of people go sick because of this. We see the report which is never published by Tepco but is used by Tepco. Now we see in Africa second time confirmation now by the Atomic Energy Authorities. This shines a huge credibility on two organizations, worldwide organizations. One is World Health Organization, how they deliberately silenced this in Sierra Leone. And the other one puts a huge question of credibility on IAEA, International Atomic Energy Authorities. We always had a doubt in their credibility. Now there is not much left. Now we understand why it was done and how we can use it for our benefit. As I said today, we finished with a lot of things and the cleanup has started. This is important. What is on the table, what is to be shown is and belongs to humanity, not to any of us. A man which is just, you heard his voice, he's lost his income with 2 children because an Iranian nuclear physicist could not be the man who found the solution for the biggest nuclear disaster. Shame on the nation of Japan. How the leadership allows the people to die just to protect the hypocrisy which sits in the White House. To sell arms, to kill more, to create a false enemy. Now you see, none of us are each other's enemy. We work as one team. We work as one group. Openly data on the table. There's literally seconds which comes off the lab. This is how we become one nation. And this is the beauty of it. Mr. Khan keeps on repeating, I've never been given the credit for what I've done. I've been given enough credit that the technology is getting used and a nation can go back into producing energy. But the only shame is, why not the citizens enjoying the fruit of the discovery? Can you distribute this material in Japan on its own as it is, Mr. Khan? Can you open your microphone?
Can I distribute this material in Japan?
Yes.
Most likely.
Do you need a license for it?
In order to sell it as a supplement in Japan, there is no license needed.
So please start producing it.
Yes.
You produce it, add it to the soap, washing up liquid, add it to the agriculture material, and let the Japanese nation to be free of it, because every cancer can kill. Radiation is a killing machine. We have the tools. Go on the net, go on the television. We support you.
But the thing is, what I'd like to do is, more than the radiation itself, I'd like to use it for like viruses or helping the other, because by doing this, I already crippled my life dealing with Fukushima, and I don't like to sell it as a remedy for radioactivity, which I'll be discredited, which I'll be attacked again in various ways. I'd like to sell it as a normal supplement. Let's say they're selling
We'll
upgraded.
do it. We'll do it from the Keshe Foundation website. The Japanese Keshe Foundation support is very deep.
Yes. So
Vince, okay, just stand by.
as a supplement,
Mr. Khan, just stand by. Vince, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Take all the details and put this on sale on the shop immediately. We take the responsibility. Let us bring us down. We know where we go. Make sure it goes on it as a supplement. Is there? They need to get permission from their own country to import.
Okay, if you could send me some pictures, that'd be great, to the webmaster address.
sure.
Send all the details. We need a lot of data. Put the report with the mice into it that it can go on it as scientific evidence. And you can call Tepco. I handle Tepco. I have no problem. I'll approach my government immediately in the coming days to see how we can take this, make a report of this. Please provide it to me immediately. Send it to my email, and I'll submit it to my ambassador. And we'll take it on with the Iranian government as a nuclear technology development. And we'll see what we can do, because a lot of people get damaged by exposure to nuclear materials. A lot of radiation workers. I've seen my father being affected by it. Now we have a solution. What about a lot of you who go for chemotherapy, and the damage of the chemotherapy is literally untold? We would like to ask the doctors, I know a large number of doctors on the scene, can you please contact us and try this to see how we support the chemotherapy, because it does what it's supposed to do, but its side effects are not there, which is causing the damage. Can we use the CO2 to reduce the damages on the chemotherapy, that we can allow people to live a safe life? Can we combine, when you're taking the chemo, the CO2 GANS with it? That one does its job and the other one cleans it.
Mr. Keshe, is it possible that by taking the CO2 GANS, it could reduce the size of a tumor so that the radiation and chemotherapy wouldn't even be required?
Yes, the Chinese research shows that direction of work. We need the support from China to get this.
There's an important.
We have tested this. We have tested this in the past 6 weeks on a lymph cancer tumor in United Arab Emirates. We are waiting for the Caroline. When is the scan due from the guy? Today they've done the scan, so we'll have the news by Monday. Hopefully Monday, Tuesday we'll get it. We know it reduces the size.
I was going to say that one important question that comes up right away, and people are already starting to ask, is what is the lethal limit, or how many grams of GANS?
We should be very little. We're talking very, very little. But we are not consuming the GANS. What we try to do, we know that the water of the GANS can do the same. I will talk to Mr. Khan to develop that side.
That's the other biggest question that's coming through. People are asking whether to use the GANS itself or just the water of the GANS.
At the moment, we recommend you to use the water of the GANS, and then hopefully in the coming days, we will see a lot of opposition from a lot of pharmaceuticals, because this literally influenza injections brings billions and billions to these things. The other thing we have to watch, one of the biggest problem we have at this moment, we are injecting our children with what we call immunization. With the developed technology like GANS, do we need to put our children that a large percentage of the mercury damage become autistic and the life damage? Do we need to go through this process of damaging ourselves, our children, with what they call immunization? Do we need to bring these kind of processes that now we have found a solution for? What about when our nuclear engineers, when our radiation therapists get radiated? Can we just wash them with the water from CO2? Can we create enough gas water that we allow the fishes before we eat to swim in it, that they get decontaminated, that we don't need to contaminate the fish? This opens a huge horizon, because it comes from the most reputable, most damaged structure in the world, with a nuclear accident with the maximum energy